So anyway, I'm still the same guy, although I'm feeling good, which is great. You know, it's I know you're saying, boy, you had quite a bout with COVID, and you're right. Okay, going on. Today we're talking about Ham, the chimpanzee. I also call him the first American doggo not. So, anyway, let's get into Mr. Ham here. Ham the chimpanzee, also known as Ham the astro chimp, well, that's another name, is notable for being the first humanid, no, hominid, oh, uh, to travel into space. His historic flight was a significant milestone in space exploration, paving the way for human space travel. Now, Ham's early life. Ham was born in July of 1956 in the French Cameroons, now Cameroon. He was captured by animal trappers and subsequently sent to the Miami Rare Bird Farm in Florida. Now you say, I know you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, a rare bird farm? This is not a bird. It's a chimpanzee that's going to go into space. But that's okay. As long as he was well taken care of, fed, treated well, that's okay. It could very well be Jim Whitehead's home because we would do the same here and we do the same for our wonderful Jamie. Take care of them, make them happy, give them water, food, uh, and many other things that you would expect. Okay, training and selection, acquisition by NASA. In 1959, Ham was acquired by the U.S. Air Force and sent to Holloman Air Force Base in Alamogordo, New Mexico, where he became part of the Project Mercury program. Some of you will remember that, some of you won't. You got to be kind of older. And the whole point, one says, oh, youth is waste on the young. The fact that I'm still here and my brain's working pretty well. I mean, I wouldn't say it's probably like I was when I was 25 years old, but it still works. I can remember, I can do things, I can put things in order, and I can do YouTube. Yeah, I guess you have to have a brain for that, right? Okay, here we are. Okay, training. Ham underwent rigorous training at Holloman Aerospace Medical Center. This training included learning to pull levers in response to light and sound cues, a task designated to simulate the activities astronauts would perform in space. Ham's training also involved being conditioned to withstand the physical stresses of space travel, such as high G force and weightlessness. Now, I know in one of my other discussion related to Sputnik and the very first animal that went into space, and it was done by Russia. And I don't want to say bad things, but I will say bad things about Russia when I get to that point. Because if I was responsible for Ham, training him to go into space, I would also train the whole system to bring him back. What good is sending, other than somebody said, well, it was noteworthy because they sent an animal into space. Well, if you want to go back to that presentation, what happened is he didn't last very long, and it was not his fault. There was heat issues. So, the Russians just basically said, now, as long as we get him into space, we don't care or plan on having him return safely. That is totally unacceptable. And maybe you will feel it's not acceptable. It just isn't. Anyway, so he had good training. Now, the date of the flight, Ham's flight took place on January 31st, 1961. He was launched aboard a Mercury Redstone 2 rocket. And I kind of grew up in the 60s. I wasn't a hippie, but I had a lot of fun and everything was good. And yes, I loved watching the space program. Most of everything happened in the 60s of the initial structure. I mean, even going to the moon, as you know, by President Kennedy. Okay, the profile of the mission was a suborbital flight intended to test the capabilities of Mercury spacecraft and the effects of space travel on a living organism. Now, yes, that is a little bit different what the Russians did. They just kind of full bore set him up into space. But they didn't, again, make plans for him surviving for very long in the spacecraft. And especially his return, or at least the capability or attempt to bring him back to space. So, I mean, somebody say, well, why'd you do it this way? Was there a point of where you're when you start sending Russians into space, are you just going to go, well, as long as they get up into space, we don't really care what happens after that? I mean, I do have a chip on my shoulder about Russia, but let's not talk anymore about that. During the flight, Ham successfully performed lever pulling tasks, demonstrating that tasks could be performed in space. The mission lasted about 16 minutes and 39 seconds, reaching an altitude of 157 miles and a peak speed of approximately 5,857 miles per hour. And that is, for those who like the metric system, it's 9,414 kilometers. And I keep bringing up this thing with the English system that we're on and the metric system the whole world's on except one other country, and that's Estonia. All the countries do metric. And I admit, because we're brought up on the English system, it's a little hard to think in kilometers, but really it is such a easy numbering system to learn because one number links to another number in the sense of proper division and multiplication, where you know where you came from, you know what number you want to go to, and you don't have to memorize that new number because it's just derivative of a very logical tens, 100s, 1000s, etc., in the numbering process. Okay, Ham's capsule splashed down in the Atlantic Ocean and was rescued by a rescue ship. Despite a minor delay in recovery, Ham was in good health, though slightly fatigued and dehydrated. I know they couldn't say, here, Ham, here's some water, or whatever you would say, Tang. Remember Tang? Tang was an orange powder. And I know a lot of times some of the things I bring up, people are going to go, oh, really? Well, I like Tang actually, but what you would do, you buy, the container, which was glass, and they kind of personified Tang as being a breakfast drink. So you know, it tasted pretty good actually, but it was probably loaded with sugar. And as we get old like me, they say don't do sugar. So we have to watch out and do different things to stay alive, I guess, right? Okay. In later life, after the mission, following a successful mission, Ham became an instant celebrity and was widely celebrated as a pioneer in space and exploration. He went up, he came down. And I even remember when I was in sixth grade, for some reason, I don't even remember this particular space flight. I don't know why. But in the 60s, and it probably would have been the next space shot after this, they sent him, a human being, thank goodness, up in space. And it was one of these, up. And I remember I was listening down at recess. And politicians, by the way, they shouldn't talk political. They all love recess. That's all they know how to do. But I'm talking across the board. But I was out at recess. I had a transistor radio. I was a tech guy even when there wasn't tech. So I remember listening, and we were so excited that it went up, and then came back down. And then after that, I don't have the dates, but there was John Glenn. God rest his soul. He was the first astronaut to circle the Earth. And I think the amount of times he went around the Earth, don't quote me, don't get mad at me if I'm wrong, but I think he did 3 revolutions around the Earth. And again, that made him famous, and he was a heck of a guy. And I don't know if you remember, but way in the future when we were doing space shuttles, I can't remember how old he was, but he was probably a little older than I was at this time. He went up in one of the space shuttles, which is pretty cool. Thank God it wasn't either one that didn't make it, but in the sense of the space shuttles. Okay, Ham spent the next 17 years living at the National Zoological Park in Washington, D.C., before being transferred to the North Carolina Zoo in Asheboro in 1980. Ham died on January 19th, 1983, at the age of 26. I guess that would be a pretty good life. And yeah, I'll say one more time, it certainly was more time and happy ending versus what the Russians did. But, okay, the legacy. Exploration. Ham's flight was a crucial step in the U.S. space program, providing valuable data and proving that humans could perform tasks in space. Now, I'm glad they say humans, because as you know, chimpanzees are not technically human. Yes, and I've said this before, they share, or we share, a lot of their DNA. So, I guess you can call your friends or non-friends monkeys. It's up to you. It's not totally wrong. Okay, his successful mission led to subsequent manned missions, including Alan Shepard's historic flight later in 1961. That's what I spoke about. When I was at recess, they went up about the same distance, same time factor, and because Ham came back alive and well, so did Alan, and that's great. Ham is buried at the International Space Hall of Fame in Alamogordo, New Mexico. His grave serves as a tribute to his contributions to space exploration and his role in advancing human spaceflight. Ham's journey from young chimpanzee in the jungles of Cameroon to the space pioneer is a testament to the significant strides made in the early years of space exploration and the vital roles animals played in making human space travel a reality. So, that's all about Ham, and did he ham it up? I don't know what we would say. Now, remember, my first slide was all about the animal portion of All Power Group is called Phoenix Animal. And somebody said, well, why did it take you so long to figure this out? Well, it's like with anything. You kind of get used to doing the same thing, and I don't want to say and expecting different results. Well, yeah, expecting different results. So when the gentleman from vidIQ, thank goodness, thank you very much, non-sponsored again, he said, you kind of need to tell people what the channel's about. I mean, it's okay if All Power Group Inc. is the company, but that's not animal directly related. And that's good, because if they say, well, wait a minute, and I did have somebody from the state talk about, you can't do and have a name that you're not doing what the name is. And that's, I was like, and you gotta be careful arguing with the state of Florida, but I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I can do anything I want. That's legal, honest, and ethical. So All Power Group has a division, if we want to do divisions, of Phoenix Animal. And we have a division, what used to be, in fact, my company then was called Power Expectations, Inc., but it was a generator company, mainly Generac. All the standbys, from the air-cooled product up to the liquid-cooled product, also diesels and so on and so forth. So, when I was selling Power Expectations over in Davie, Florida, on the other side of the state of Florida, on the east side of the state, I sold Power Expectations, but when I had the process going, it took me about a year to sell the company. And we were moving and all that stuff. That's why we're doing that. I said, I got to start another corporation because I'm expecting I'm going to continue doing the same services besides YouTube. YouTube is number one. I know people say, well, what do you mean? You don't make any money in it, or you don't make a lot of money. That's okay. You got to enjoy what you're doing. You got to use your brain every day and have some fun. So, anyway, that's the whole transition, and it makes me feel a little bit better that I've delineated, Phoenix Animal, and also, back to standby for 1 second. I am still a dealer for Generac, so I have no, how would you say, negatives related to Generac. And there's other products within the Generac listing that I can use and are using, and one of them is EV chargers. So really, it isn't where, forget about that. No. But when I came over here and I'm running the building I'm in off grid, I said, and I'm the type of guy that I don't sell anything that I don't use. And why do you do that? You can learn in a textbook about what we're now calling solar generators. A little weird name because there's a lot of different things you can do to get power into the batteries that are in this case, I'm an EcoFlow wholesale dealer. Now, I'm going to be honest. I have a system running here I'm installing the same system, same equipment, and their equipment is great. They have good warranties. But the big point, I know I'm going off on tangents, but I think these are important things to say. But if I just looked at marketing material on all these solar generators, because I've had 3 here. Why did you have 3? Not at the same time. 1 and then get rid of that, 2 and then went to 3. Why are you doing that? So I know if you buy the same relative system, and they have different equipment that you can do, so it isn't just one choice. I would say I've already done it. I have it. And in fact, right now, this building is 30 feet from our main home. And when we moved here a year ago, my wife said, "You gonna put a generator in?" Now at that time, the solar generators had not progressed to where you'd say they now can be a no power backup. So we are in the process. We dug a big trench yesterday to the house, and we are going to be putting this building on a line from the electrical service in the main home. We're already working on that. And we're going to run a 60 amp, 120, 240, 60 hertz line out here. And that is now going to run the building. And the Ultra with its batteries are going to go over in the garage right next to where our electrical panel is. And unfortunately down here, we've lost power 3 or 4 times. But it's so hot, you can't live without air conditioning and things like that. And if it goes too long, you will lose your food. So, within about a week or so, and I'll keep you updated on that. And I'm going to do separate recap and how it works. But when you now, and it was like pennies from heaven, because I'm getting older, and I said, I'm not sure about doing full standby generators where you have to install gas, propane, natural gas coming from, if it's in your area or down your street. It's expensive. Every generator with let's say 1,000-gallon propane tank takes 2 months and is probably, without any type of highball, it's about $25,000. So what the solar generators are, they are what we call an inverter system. The inverter just converts power back and forth, DC to AC, AC to DC, yada, yada, yada. And then you have batteries. And the neatest thing versus a standby generator, you can expand it down the road. And all that means is, I have 3 batteries hooked to this. When you buy it with the inverter, it comes with 1 battery. Battery's big and weighs about 113 pounds. I don't know about that, but anyway, bottom line, I've added 2 more, so I have the inverter plus 3 batteries, and that's, you get 6 kilowatt hours. You won't be tested. 6 kilowatt hours per battery bank. So I have 18 kilowatt hours of storage. Now, will that run my home for a long time? No. Will it run the home and what we need, and the air conditioning and hot water for a day? Yes. At least a day. But I can add 2 more batteries, which would add another 12 kilowatt hours of storage. And you can even add more beyond that. I don't want to make this too long. But the other thing you can do, solar panels will charge these solar generators, and you can just put them outside. The big goal here is to install for you a good backup, and it's about half the price. And it takes, besides ordering the equipment, and it does come pretty quickly still, which is great from EcoFlow. They have locations, warehouses in both Texas and California. So I just ordered two inverters for a customer up in Nokomis, Florida, which is north of us here. But the point is, you can also buy from EcoFlow a portable generator. Now, I never would sell portable generators to customers because of the gasoline. I would say to customers, don't do it. You will love it the first time when it's brand new and you put gas in it and you plug it in, and still it won't necessarily run everything you need. But gasoline, the next time you go to use it, you put it off in the, because you test it and you put it off in the garage, or the next time you go to use it, if you haven't done the right homework of, I won't even get into it, but I mean, what generally will happen, the carburetor gets a little clogged up because there's only one little minuscule jet, and then you can't start it. And you say, what the hell did I buy a generator for? So, the pennies from heaven is the fact that I don't have to install standby generators. And again, nothing against Generac. I'm sure they will, and I've even spoken to them about this. Are you working on battery systems that can, in essence, I don't want to say take the place, but be as an additional good choice for customers that would rather go that way, or instead of going standby. And the neat thing is, as I said, that it only takes a couple days. Once you get the equipment, it takes a couple days to install it. But with the generators, I'm talking 2 months. And that's not like where, I say, well, yeah, I get the equipment and I goof off for a month. No, it's just how long it takes in the sense of getting the equipment, getting the permits approved, et cetera, et cetera. So if you called me, like you can call me, I don't hide my number. It's on my website, allpowergroup.com. If you said, Jim, will you install a standby generator for me? I'd say, no. One, and this isn't the main reason, but one is I was a gas contractor for the whole state of Florida. And since I was going to be shifting to a backup choice that doesn't have anything to do with needing propane or natural gas. And the EcoFlow that I alluded to, the generator, you say, but it's a portable generator, Jim. You seem to be, conflicted here. I said, well, no, because you can run it on two fuels. Gasoline, that's out, but propane. So you go to your supermarket, as you're getting ready to do this, you buy as many tanks that you think you need. Propane does not go bad. You go, oh man, now I need it, and yada, yada, yada. And they're protected pretty much from leaks. So, I mean, you got to be careful on that. But propane will last forever. It stays in the tank. It's under pressure. And as long as there isn't a leak, and there shouldn't be. These tanks are built to be, how would you say, safe. Because even though, and I know I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, but even if you go with, uh, you know, natural gas or propane, the neatest thing again is it will never die. It will never not be there for you. But the big thing, if somebody said, well, tell me, besides all the money you're talking about and the ease of installation, short time factor with the solar generators, I would say the propane issue. Propane is explosive. On a scale of 1 to 6, 6 being the most dangerous explosion wise, that's gasoline. So you think about it, wow, you have all these cars with gasoline sitting in them? Yeah, I mean, it's safe, but you're running it every day, generally. So the gas doesn't go bad because you obviously use the gas and you fill it up with the gas. But with, you know, a generator, people would put gas in it, and the typical tank on the 15,000, 17,500 Generac, it has a 19-gallon gas tank, which at half load, and that's, I think that's stupid, but it always has been where when they quote how long something's going to run, they go, in this case, 10 hours at half load. So that means if if it's, let's use 20,000 watts. So that means the generator at full capacity can put out 20,000 watts. So if you're saying at half load, you're saying you're only going to run that generator at 10,000 watts. Do you save fuel? Yes. But it throws it way off if someone says to you, well, that propane tank is going to last for 4 days at half, at half load. Well, you say, well, wait a minute. How much is, if I'm going to load it up without overloading it, that's very important. It's distinction. But if you, in essence, say, I'm not going to run it at half load. I'm going to run it at full load. So now you're running, instead of 10 hours, you could go through 19 gallons in half that time. 5 hours, the generator is going to shut down. You can't even get through a night. And people would store gas. A lot of them because they didn't want to have the gas in the garage because they're afraid of explosion. By the way, propane's in 3. I know I sometimes jump ahead, but 6 for gasoline, half explosive in the sense of, if you had a gallon of each and you had it where you could ignite it, you would notice a difference in with the gasoline versus the propane gas. So, the fact with the solar generator, yes, it can only put out so much power, so you have to be careful. But there's means of where you can expand and extend that and have it where you're going to run for as long as you need. And again, generator, as I mentioned earlier, EcoFlow generator, it run on propane tanks. You're probably going to get a day or more out of one tank. But let's say you have 5 or 6. And meaning that you can run that solar system, the solar generator, for as many days as you have tanks. And if you say, well, I only used 1 tank on this problem, and you bought 6, That propane is going to be fine in the garage. It's not dangerous. It's in a tank that's very well protected. You know, if somebody came in with a shotgun and they say, "Oh, I'm going to shoot the tanks," well, yeah, you're going to have a problem. And you're going to have an explosion. But it still wouldn't be, luckily, to the extent if that same amount was in gasoline. Well, here we go. I'm done. I'm sorry. I talk a lot. I enjoy this. And again, thank you for being here. And please be well. And my number is, because you can ask me any questions. I'm not going to give you my credit card, but my number is 786 535 9710. 786 535 9710. Plus, you can always text to that number. So if you said, "Hey, you know, I'm kind of interested to have Jim explain it." I mean, even if you're in Yubanqui, New Mexico, where, yeah, I won't be installing anything for you in Yubanqui, New Mexico. One reason, because there's no such place. But other than that, I'm just saying that I'm not going to go there. But I love talking about generators and how to help people. So I guess in a way, you know, it kind of all comes out in the end. So thank you very much. Enjoy your Sunday, by the way. And I'll see you again tomorrow, hopefully. And thank you very much. Be well.